Yeah, 100%. And I think that's something I've noticed for this game changer scene at the start of open qualifiers as a whole, right? Is you get a little bit of both. You have the 13-0s, you have the 13-11s. There's really been very few in betweens. And I'm expecting this map to be one of those, or this matchup, excuse me, to be one of those in betweens. I can't imagine that any of these teams or either of these teams are looking to go out 13-0.
Sam, before I come to you, I just want to say that I've committed the ultimate sin of being muted on VMix. In EU, we have Mitchman, who he is now referred to as Mute Man. So over here, I will take that full. You guys can blame me as much as you want, because I think this is the second time I've been muted today. But Sam, I'm really hoping that you're not muted.
I hope so too. Can someone confirm, please? Let me in. All right, cool. Apparently we're good. What were we saying? Oh yes, this upcoming maps. I'm pretty excited for this next series because I think that TSM kind of blew me out of the water a little bit with their match against Dignitas. I was expecting Dignitas to be a little bit more of a runaway win there, and it was far closer than what I had previously expected, just because Dignitas had been together for so long and TSM had been brought together, these players from various different teams and various different walks of life, semi-last minute for this tournament. And I think that it really speaks to their abilities for them to have played so well. But now they're coming up against Fwogs, or Frogs. I'm going to be saying Frogs because it just feels weird to say Fwogs. And I'm really hoping that they can put up a little bit of a tougher fight. You know, playing C9 white in your first game, that's always going to be a daunting task. So hopefully they can rally themselves a little bit, not get too much into their own heads, and fight back a little bit harder. I'd like to see more out of these ladies.
Yeah, well, Tana, you know, it's hard to it's kind of hard to analyze what Frogs did today, just because they had to face C9 White. And let's have a look at the bracket so you guys can see what happened a little bit earlier. But my question to you, Tana, is that because we haven't really seen what they can do, they kind of, you know, to put it nicely, got a little bit rolled over there this morning. On the other side for TSM, do you feel like that they've had enough time to maybe look into what Frogs can do? Because the VOD, even though it's there, is very limited.
Yeah, it is incredibly limited. And I think that one of the biggest takeaways is the play style. You could just take a peek and see what Frogs are looking to do just by the composition, right? Running that triple duelist. It is a little scary to me. And you obviously see what happens when you go game after game after game and it's working. The aggression is paying off perfectly. Then you hit a brick wall in that Cloud9 team that has been, I mean, basically pretty dominant just across the board, whether it be here in Game Changers, VCT, whatever it is, you know, just a strong team. So now TSM, I think what's worked well for Frogs is just like what Sam had pointed out, is that TSM, they're kind of picked from different teams. You know, they're not a solid team that played under another name and then all got signed together. They also have a substitute or now trialing an Ariane Arcist, who it just seems like a lot of X factors that could quite possibly, be blown over by this very quick pace that Frogs like to put up.
Of course, they've had a map win today as well, right? If you look at the rounds that TSM put up, and, you know, 2-1, but the score lines were very, very close. It could have really been, in another world, been Dignitas in this position right now. I think we should talk about the map picks and bans as well, because, you know, both of these teams are playing 2 best of 3s today instead of the 1 if you're in the upper bracket. And I think the map picks kind of reflect the mood and the vibe we're going down, because as you guys can see at home, it's Icebox, Split, and Haven. And Sam, these 3 maps are the 3 maps that Frogs didn't play this morning.
Well, you mentioned that Frogs didn't play this morning. Split. Split is a game that or a map that they have never played as a team at all. We have no stats on this, people. I like stats. I have a book with like percentages and all sorts of fun numbers. I have no numbers on Split for Frogs. So really, I don't know what composition they're going to play. I can't tell you anything about what we might expect from that map. What I did find really interesting and actually quite funny is that the very first map that got banned out was TSM's ban. They banned out Bind, which is the one map that they have never played. So I think it makes perfect sense that they banned that one out. I will say, however, that the maps that they've wound up with, I don't want to say chosen because Frogs obviously couldn't choose all 3 maps, but the maps that have wound up with here really do kind of slot into their play style. So Tana, you mentioned they're running that triple duelist, and that's a really, really powerful composition. You're really looking for early entries. You're looking for super aggression, get onto site quickly, get a couple of picks, take control, and then shut down any post plants or, you know, retakes. And that, it really suits their style for these couple of maps. But again, TSM, they've got a lot of firepower on their hands, and bringing in Arianicist, I think has really helped to level them up a little bit. She's been performing really, really well recently. So I think this is going to be a really good matchup.
As you guys can see the roster there, Tana, who would you, I guess, pick as maybe a player to watch in this matchup?
So I had kind of scribbled in my notes a couple of the duelist picks here, and a couple of names for both of these teams. I think Emily has been absolutely fragging as a whole for TSM. And then I think in the recent showings outside of this last Cloud9 showing, Ellie Twitches has also been that player to watch for that Frogs team as somebody who can put up the numbers. And I know that the ACS and kills isn't everything, but when you are playing that duelist, if you are getting kills, that typically means you're doing your job pretty well.
What about you, Sam? Who do you have your eyes on for this matchup?
So this might be my own personal bias, but Arianicist, I've been following her since September last year when she played in the FTW tournament. She was actually a sub for Dignitas at the time. Now she subbed in for TSM and has now been made an official trial. She's someone that I've been watching a lot because she's got a lot of firepower. There's a lot of oomph there. And I think that if you give her the right tools, she can really be a massive boon for your team. What I'm really looking forward to is the matchup between Dinos and Arianicus, because they both play that kind of Omen support role, and I want to see how they fare up against each other, because they're both kind of fraggy players, and I want to see how they dance around each other in the coming maps.
Well, we are heading into Icebox now. I just seen the sky lock in right there, and I'm very, very excited for this map. I'm going to leave you guys in the very capable hands of Tana and Sam.
Thank you, Yinsu.
Oh, thank you.
Always an absolute pleasure. As we might have a bit of a confusion on the screen. We are headed over to Icebox. That is the map that is locked in. And as Yinsu said, as she was popping out, we've got a sky coming in. Now, there's something else on the screen, Sam, that I'm taking a peek at that looks a bit more crazy in this one. And that's the player you said to watch
everything.
for TSM.
So I mentioned that I'm the stat person, and in my stats, I have not seen Ari running the Viper. Now, the Viper can be very, very powerful on Icebox. There are some seriously good corners and areas of the map that you can start to abuse that wall, those two-way smokes. This is fantastic, but I've never seen her play the Viper. I think, like, more than anything, I was already excited for this series. Now I'm so pumped because I'm a Viper fangirl, and I really want to see how she shuts down sites, because that ace, or rather that B site, is already hard enough to push onto. You add a Viper wall into the mix, and it's just, oh man, it's gonna be hell.
And so notably, I think Icebox is one of, if not the only, very few maps that you can get away with running the Viper as your only controller. You don't get the reset on the smoke, so you really have to have the proficiency, and that's, like you said, going to be one of the biggest things, whether it be that toxic screen or that poison cloud that the Viper brings to the table. This is interesting. A lot of times you see it paired, but here we go, guys. We're in the lower bracket. Loser, unfortunately, gets sent home. Winner moves forward to fight another day, and it looks like another hit towards A, but that toxic screen slowing things down for a bit as TSM on the defensive. Look to get a bit aggressive. Juna grabs one, will be able to heal up, top herself off, but I think since that kill, things are going to slow down.
Some crazy aggression from TSM on that A side, but as soon as they lose one, they pull back, and it's a good read because Frogs have already made a rotation over towards the B side. They need to be careful though, because Ari is going to be trying to lock that down. Already has the toxin screen, trying to make sure that they can't actually push onto the side, but there's still a heavy presence from TSM towards A, and I think this is kind of a lurk to get behind the team and make something happen.
And they're able to even the odds quite a bit as Athena tosses out a heal. Now that wall on pistol round, it gets so much value, and we're seeing it happen just here as Clefairy gets that spike planted. So at the very least, Frogs have netted themselves nice couple credits at the end of this round. Now, should they be able to pick it up? Obviously, Gonna be in a pretty good position as the flash out towards yellow gets the info, but Lynn able to find another Cath meanwhile on the spike, gets it halfway, able to back away, and 2 heals on this team. We'll see if Zoe can help out the teammate. Ellie going ham here. Ellie to close it out. What a play here by the Frogs.
Well, you mentioned Ellie, and she's doing just what you said she would do. Now, I love the play there from Frogs. They kind of went towards A, faked it out a little bit, made some noise there, immediately rotated towards B. And TSM seemed... At first, I thought that they were reacting, and so they were going on a lurk to kind of pincer in, create a motion so that Frogs couldn't turn back, and they would be able to pincer and take shots from, you know, a crossfire. But it seemed like TSM were just taken off guard. And now Lynn coming in with the round 2 Marshall. They know that there's no armor for TSM. I'm curious to see if she can actually get some value out of that.
And Ellie might get a whole handful of value here as that boombot goes out. Unfortunately, that target taken down. So Emily off the board, and Ellie not done yet. Picking up 2 here at the start. It was 2 at the finish in the last. And it is the anti-eco for the Frogs, but if you're an aggressive team, winning that pistol round is the absolute best way to start.
We're seeing some of that aggression now already. They had 1 person towards B side, and that's Ellie making some noise. Now they've made their way over to the A side. They're pushing straight into that. Marshall gets value, Tanner.
Oh my goodness. Whether it's the Ghost, whether it's the Marshall, Lynn just continues to pop the heads here of TSM. Now, Cath, I think you're just hoping to hurt the economy at this point or take away somebody's bonus buy. You don't have a whole lot going in your favor. As Lynn closes it out with yet another headshot with that Marshall. And going into round 3, TSM, they've got some work to do.
That is devastating. And now Lynn already has her knives ready to go. And let's see. Okay, she does actually buy a gun this round. Very often you'll see when the Jet has that ultimate available, they're just going to run in with a pistol. But given that this is kind of one of those half buy or low buy rounds, I mean, they barely had to buy anything because hardly anyone died. So she is still going to come into this with a gun, and they'll still have economy. Nope, I knew it. I knew it. She gave her gun away. Ha! She's coming in with the knives. She's going to kill somebody, pick up a gun, and turn it around. And there it is. Already popped the knives.
Yeah, you called it perfectly. And it was the one member who had the economy hurt on that bonus's aggression matched once more, this time with rifles, as Cath finds the kill there. And notably before the broadcast, we were talking about just kind of out of the blue. Anarchist going to get her straight popped in that one. But out of the blue, Cath will sometimes play that Jet, and it's on this map that she does it, and she's doing it pretty well thus far. 4 members look to huddle up just behind Yellow. Now Cath trying to get out of dodge. Still very healthy, playing around the cloudburst. Inside the smoke they'll go. She tries to spray him down. 4 rounds in the mag. 5 HP to her name, and her teammates are falling down all around her. And B-side, it's now on lockdown here. Zoe's able to trade it back. Spike goes down, and it's not in a very advantageous position.
Cath is ballsy. I mean, she goes in. She manages to take down an enemy Jet. Manages to take down mid-knives. So that completely secures that part of it. And then she just plays Ring Around the Rosie with 3 players from Frogs. Completely unafraid. Throwing out a couple of cloudbursts here and there. Whittling down their HP a little bit. Unfortunately, wasn't quite enough because Frogs have already made a rotation all the way over to the A site. Completely unaware. TSM on the wrong side of the map.
That is, and that's a difficult coin flip for Zoe, right? They could just be cutting noise and still hanging out over towards B, and it's either you try and rotate with them or just stay put. Now, a couple of kills will net the Seekers for Zoe. So if she picks up 2, quite possibly could use that ult to look to close out the round. But with that spike planted with 0 credits to her name, I think she might just look for some exit frags or quite possibly even just a save.
Yeah, probably just going to go for the save here. As that time slowly ticks down. That was a very, very powerful round for Frogs. And I think Cath did so much there to try and clutch it out for TSM. Unfortunately, her backup took a little bit too long to arrive. And as I said, she kind of played Ring Around the Rosie with 3 or 4 people around that tin can all the way over on the B side. Managed to whittle away some of the HP, but wasn't able to convert any of that into a kill. And so because she couldn't do that, she was all on her own. And eventually 4 people are more than likely going to get the better of you. You know, Cath, you're good, but sometimes it's just not quite enough. So moving into our next round here, Frogs at a very, very strong lead. But despite that, their economy isn't as strong as it could be. Interesting to note that Ellie is opting to stick with the Bulldog instead of upgrading. This might just be another bait. I'm waiting. Okay, seriously, they're sticking with the Bulldog and the Stinger. That's a decision. But they still have a massive gun advantage here. It is still an anti-eco. TSM really needs to try and turn something around here.
That right there, that small trade definitely hurts. It's one of the only times you're going to have basically even footing, right? You talked about the Arsenal, and that was Spectre versus Spectre. This time, it's Lynn with the Vandal in hands versus the Sheriff, Marianarchist. Now, the Blades from Kath in response, though, looking to turn this round upside down as Lynn continues to frag out. Goes good for 2 before falling. The Blades fall on Kath as well, and it's all down to Emily, who unfortunately wasn't quite ready for that one.
This is so good from Frogs. I mean, we kind of spoke about how their triple duelist strategy really feeds into super aggressive playstyles. And while they are being aggressive, they're showing a lot more control than what we saw in their match versus C9. It kind of felt like they were being really explosive, but didn't have too much of a plan. This time, however, they're waiting for TSM, because TSM are being just as aggressive. They're pushing straight out without really thinking about what they're trying to do. They're running straight into Frogs, who are just waiting for them to run into their crosshairs, and they're winning out those gun battles. Now, we have 3 ultimates online here for Frogs, and they're big ones. They've got the Showstopper, the Rez, and the Empress. These are massive game-changing ultimates. And to be frank, Frogs don't even need to change the game at this point. They just need to keep going.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just keep on keeping on. As we see the economy across the board, not great for TSM. That Sheriff try and kick things off over towards A on Zoe. See a couple members bringing up the rear to try and make sure this A isn't taken for free. The Seekers are online, which again, for information can be used. Also, not a bad time to use that while you're planting, as we see low HP there on Ellie, maybe taking an unfavorable trade over towards that B side of the map. But the slow orbs surely start to give this one away.
TSM taking good map control here. Frogs waiting for the opportunity to push in, and now they just go super aggressive. But there's a big lurk coming around the back side. They're waiting for that jet to get into position so they can go for that retake.
And Showstopper going to be used, try and clear things out 1-for-1 on the site. As Ellie, 27 HP, was healed up momentarily, but taken down almost immediately as Frogs get cut down to their last 3, but they're able to answer it back. And a very healthy TSM, a very healthy Kath on that flank that you noted, Sam, and it's coming in huge. 70 health to her name. Kath needs to go huge here. Also working against the clock. Spots out Ellie, finds the kill, the 3K on the round, and TSM finally on the board.
I was really concerned there because it felt like the fight had started before Kath was in position, and I thought that this was going to be another, blowout round for TSM. But Kath actually manages to clutch that out. I was talking about the ring around the Rosie, the 1v4. Well, she gets the 1v3 in this situation, but it really helps when those 3 players are split up. And she manages to clutch that one out really, really well. They weren't expecting that lurk, but it came through. Now, however, Lynn showed us what she can do with the Marshal. I can't wait to see what she does with that operator. Attack op is always an interesting choice. It's a little bit more difficult to get value out of, but because you're coupling that with the jet, and apparently Lynn is a god with a sniper, so let's see what she can create with that. Let's see how she makes space.
Able to click heads, which is basically what you need to do to kill somebody with that Marshal. Now in this one, you have a quite larger target in that body as Kath. Gonna follow in those footsteps, click in ahead. So the Jet's coming online here in this game. And with the first one down, that absolutely starts to slow down this Frog's aggression. Resurrection is in fact still available. And you see that toxic screen slowing things down for a moment, but we should see that aggression. There's that res coming on through, and Frogs just buying their time here. All 5 stacked up towards B.
And that's interesting because Frogs have really favored this kind of stacked position. They don't often have their, the defaults we see quite often where you'll see two towards each site, one person kind of lurking a little bit as they wait to gather information. These ladies stick together for the most part. And it feels like TSM are starting to figure that out, starting to find a way to abuse it.
Unfortunately, there's another Spectre in the hands of that Sage for TSM, so taking down that Vandal, just proven to be so strong here in this matchup thus far, but answered right back there. Now Clefairy, no heal on the table. Obviously, that Resurrection was used, so they're able to get just about all the value you could hope for, but the flanks start to fall. The rest of the squad starts to fall. Now Lynn has to do something huge with that operator that we noted. With 10 seconds, that's a pretty tall task.
I wonder if she just tries to save it out yet. she realizes that there isn't too much that she can do. Oh, gets the shot onto Cat though. That's big. Misses on Ariana though. Oh, does she die here? She does. That's unfortunate. What I'm loving to see from TSM here is evolution. So the first few rounds, I noted how they'd been super aggressive, and Frogs were just waiting for that, waiting for an opportunity, waiting for them to make a mistake and to be out of position. TSM figured out Frogs' strat very quickly and adapted. They've now moved over to a style of shutting down the map entirely. They take full map control as much as they can, fan out, and then move in. Like, I used this analogy back in the FTW tournament, like a pack of lions. They really do, you know, they're lionesses on the hunt, and they fan out and they wait for the perfect opportunity to pounce. The patience is so much better now.
Yeah, I mean, not a whole lot of patience here as Emily just gonna jump right into things with that showstopper. She was feeling froggy, so she decided to leap across this A site. Goes good for 2 kills. Oh, okay, I was gonna say they're not done yet, but Clefairy answers back with a kill of her own. Now, unfortunately, you have 3 ultimates to worry about, one of those being that resurrection for TSM, so this could quite possibly be a 4v2 situation. But the Frogs, they've got the spike, and they have a whole lot of time to play with.
What's interesting is Ari is still all the way over on the B site, and I'm not sure... I think this is just like a 900 IQ read from TSM. They probably realized that at some point, Frogs is going to pull back and try and move to the other side of the map. Now, the Bladestorm has come out for Frogs, so they're expecting somebody to be on that lurk. They know Kath was there previously. It might not necessarily be Kath this time around. And things just got a whole lot worse for Frogs because we got Zoe back in the server as the race comes through.
Yeah, now at the very least, you know, the Sage and the Rezzed player over towards A. So it should be a 2v2 across the board as we get to see a bit of the Viper tech. Anarchist has been working on as Lynn goes right over the top, says one way down low. I don't think so. With the up in hand, Lynn is able to grab another. This round looking a whole lot more winnable here for the Frogs as they start to battle back. Unfortunately, Cat on the flank once more goes good for 1. Now looking to eliminate Lynn. In a 1v2's got the knives out. Puts them away, unfortunately runs out. And the defuse come through. The Frogs almost pull that one out.
That was so close, but I think that res was quite clutch there towards the end. You kind of start to think maybe it's overkill. You know, you're in a 3v2 situation, but you want to secure yourself that. And when Lynn is still alive, she's popped the Bladestorm, she still has the operator. We saw she's super deadly. And this was a much better read from Frogs. You know, once they had lost a couple players on the A side, they pulled back a little bit. But I think TSM just read it that much better. To have left Ariana Kest all the way on the B side, didn't call that rotation through. It was like they knew that this was going to happen. Now, Kath has an operator of her own. It is a massive anti-eco. I'm kind of expecting, looking over at the mini-map, this is a full rush onto the A side from Frogs. They're full ecoing here. They're just going to rush in and kind of get ready for the next round. And that is a really weird Viper ult, considering it's an anti-eco.
Yeah, you know, what it does kind of do is almost forces the A push because TSM did stack 4 or 3 and 1 close up towards mid. It kind of says, hey, you guys have to go A, and that's where we're stacking this site. Now, unfortunately, they're able to grab a kill, but they take a lot of damage doing it. That is going to be healed up. Emily tosses out Boombot there. Top shot going to miss again, and Lynn continues to find frags, absolutely devouring this TSM squad here. Went up top to get the high ground and just continues to look for more. Now that wall goes up and the spike surely to follow, and it puts TSM backs against the walls. They're working against the clock once more.
We see again the potency of that Sage wall here on Icebox. Very powerful agent. Oh my goodness, the shoulder! Elliot Twitches was not expecting to have a pixel peak like that, and the action is right back into it as Frogs trying to take an early lead here and maintain control of the spike.
And they're just going back and forth. This time they actually force the blades out of Kath, who gets cut down by the Stinger. This gun has since been nerfed, but Clefairy not showing us that it matters all that much as Anarchist comes over on the flank here and should have just enough time to get that spike defused. But that was an anti-eco at TSM. They almost fumbled it.
honestly, that, like, if you're Frogs, you're super happy with how that round went. No, you weren't able to clutch it out in the end, but let's be real. You weren't really expecting to. But for them to have been able to take down 4 of TSM's players, they even got the operator off the board as well. That's a really, really solid eco round. They even pulled out the Viper's Pit. So now TSM don't have any ultimates, and Frogs still have 4 of their own online. They don't have the Blade Storm, but knowing how this has been going, I'm pretty sure she's going to be close to another Blade Storm. So this is looking really good for Frogs here. And let's just take a look at this positioning. So they're going for a slightly more... So this is what I was talking about. Slightly more towards that default position, looking for information before they just kind of rush a site. I've been looking for this patience.
There. Toxin screen down.
Routed step for the high ground. Well, actually a fake here, Anarchist. This is, I mean, something that DNOS has been doing for just about the entirety of the game. So just keeping TSM on their toes. As once more, they look to push towards this B site. Shot goes wide. Not going to find too much just yet. 4 ultimates online for the Frogs. We'll see if they decide to use it as the Toxins go down. Now you have no smokes to play with. Anarchist also hasn't set up that one-way smoke. So looking to take the fights right to him as DNOS, I thought, was going to stick it towards yellow. And on the inverse, Lynn hanging on to that flank with the operator, picking up that kill. Now, no inclination of a resurrection. Should Athena get those ult orbs up? Here comes a showstopper. They're starting to use everything they can to open up this B side. Unfortunately, going to fall just a bit short as Arianarchus backs away. But 30 seconds, they've got to get that spike down soon.
TSM can afford to play this a little bit more patiently, play for that retake instead of trying to be too aggressive. Now, they don't have the lurk this time around, which could be a little bit dangerous. They're going to need to go for a full frontal retake. And given where the spike is planted, it's in a really good position for Frogs to hold onto it. They've got good post-plant. They're also watching their backs. Lynn watching back of sight to make sure that the flank isn't coming through. This is a very good defensive setup here.
Flash goes good for 1 here. Emily able to peek that one. Junifor now getting some information, but it doesn't matter. The rest of the team starting to back her up here. It's the spike on the ground. It's Zoe working against 2, and unfortunately not able to get it done. It was 4 rounds in a row, but the Frogs start to battle back.
Really great post-plant positions there from the Frogs. They covered every single angle. There was no way for TSM to get on and get to that spike to actually get the defuse. And this is going a lot closer than what I might have thought, you know, coming into this series. And Lynn's still holding on to that operator, so massive buys here for Frogs. TSM, I'm not sure how they turn this one around. So for now, they're going to be going for yet another eco. They want to give themselves an opportunity to build up a little bit more of that economy because they're getting stopped at every turn. They're starting to struggle here. It felt like they were getting a feel for the rhythm and the pace of how Frogs were playing, but Frogs have kind of responded with, you know, with that apparently.
Yeah, exactly. With that, they're starting to find the reads here, and this is what I was expecting, right? Coming down to the losers bracket, waking up a little bit after going down. You know, it's tough to say, but we'll call it what it is. It was a rough showing for Frogs against Cloud9, but they've woken up. They're playing against another strong team, a strong team that does well when going down in that losers bracket, but TSM just can't seem to find their footings completely. It's another B hit going down. It is that eco round, and Frogs should be grabbing another lead.
I think this is kind of a different story for TSM, you know, after such a close game against Dignitas, having lost it out, they might be getting in their own heads a little bit here, and they're not playing as coordinated as what we would have liked to have seen. Again, the flank got shut down really early for TSM, so now with the 2v5, I mean, there's nothing left to do here, really.
Yeah, TSM really can just hope for exits, maybe try and drop the operator, take away one of these vandals or something. There just isn't a whole lot to write home about as Ellie, nice little 3K on the round, padding the stats, 1 HP, and needs to try and sneak away. Not too sure if she'll be able to escape this spike, but at the end of the day, yeah, okay, there it is. Ellie does go down, so 4 stay alive. Zoe on the flank, able to cut down another, looking for more. Not able to get it, so a bit of damage to the economy, but Frogs still up 2 rounds.
That was so brave. I didn't expect it to just swing out like that, but I suppose when all you really got to work with is, you know, Spectre. It's not the end of the world.
True.
And she does manage to get the exit frag, so that helps at least. Now, finally, TSM are getting some ultimates on the board as well. They've got that showstopper, and we've seen some really good showstoppers from Ellie Twitches. So let's see how Emily responds to that, as now TSM are finally back into a full... This is a forced buy. They've got no money, really. Oh, my earth. Lynn missing that shot is really unfortunate, because that was for free.
And quite uncharacteristic, right? Lynn has been, I mean, the shot percentage with the snipers, whether it be the marshal or the operator, has been fairly high for her as a whole on this map thus far. So we're going to let that one slide. I'm sure she'll right her wrongs as Emily goes forward once again, but up towards Pipe. Junifor has the ultimate on the Empress on the line here, finding that kill and a quick resurrection to come on through. Puts Frogs back in the driver's seat, but Cat looking to cut them down as they push through mid, but it's traded. TSM, they just cannot find, they can't chain things together.
Oh, some really good traces there. Manages to get the swing from Athena. You know, they turn around to shoot the traces and Athena gets the swing. Lynn missing another upshot. This is, as you said, very, very uncharacteristic. Tries to, for the third time, but Zoe just wins out that duel. And now in the 3v1, this has been so scrappy and back and forth between these two teams. They both seem to have a fairly good understanding of what the other team is going to be doing. But now when it comes down to the 1v1, it's not about the team anymore. It's about you. And what are you going to do to try and clutch this?
And how it doesn't get any better than this, Sam. These are the two support players that you noted before the broadcast started. This is what you were talking about on the desk. It's Dinos, it's Ari Anarchist, and we get to see him in a 1v1 with that spike planted.
Oh.
Panic on a very, very far flank here. Gonna be able to cut down the Omen, unfortunately, send him back from whence he came. I don't know where Omen actually comes from, but
Shadow Realm.
Yeah, he is returned back to the Shadow Realm, and TSM, they grab 5. Now, the next round is going to be important to, at the very least, go 6-6.
Oh, that was super unfortunate, though, because you're the last person standing. You've planted the spike. You now need to keep your eye on literally every single entrance to the site. And Dinos did well to figure out where Arianakist would be coming from, but unfortunately not well enough to figure out exactly where she would be and win out that aim duel. Now, so I was talking a little bit about how scrappy this match has been between these two teams, and it feels like they're constantly adapting to one another. And there's this ebb and flow of aggression and kind of hesitant defense, and I'm really enjoying it. But at some point, something's got to give, or we're just going to go into like quadruple overtime towards the end of the map. So soon, very soon, we're going to swap sides. This is the last chance here. Can it be evened out to a 6-6, or will Frogs pull ahead, give themselves an extra 2 points coming into the next round?
The guiding light gonna get some information that anybody might be playing out towards mid, which is, it's just Frogs buying their time, right? They're just hanging out. They've got all the time to work with. They quite possibly could think that the wall might be up inside that tube, that barrier orb, so they could be waiting that one down to look to make a play out towards mid. But here come the smokes. So we're going to queue up another guiding light, able to find the flash. Now all the information is there as a Bucky up close and personal, but from behind, Ellie manages to get it done with the boombot and open things up for the Frogs. They're looking for the lion's share of this half, trying to go 7-5 as that spike looks to get planted. Ari Anarchist able to deny that one onto Dinos, but Ellie just doesn't stop. You cannot cut her down, as I say it. It's a 3K before she falls. The caster curse comes through, but Ari Anarchist, you got a lot on your plate here. Viper's Pit in play. The smoke goes out. No snake bites to work with, so not able to cut down any of these areas. And what goes up must come down. The Frogs net 7.5.
It looks like one of those baiting, things that I've heard so much about. I don't really understand how these things work, but Kath starts flying, Arianakis peeks her head, and somebody shoots her from behind. You know, it do be like that. But it was Frogs that did manage to get it to that 2-point lead at the half. So now we swap sides. And this is where things really start to get interesting, because now we saw how Frogs, we mentioned the triple duelist, and they didn't play super, super explosive towards the end of the half. They needed to play a little bit more conservative because they are playing against TSM. But now they're going to be playing on the defense, and I really want to see how they tackle that because I expect TSM to go in fairly aggressive here. So Frogs are going to need to try and counter that, or they're going to need to be playing purely for retakes, take control of the map, and then pincer in.
I'm absolutely terrified for TSM to only have the Viper now on attack, because once you toss out the toxic screen, once you throw out the poison cloud, unless you go and pick it up, they are where they lay. That's it. You don't get another chance at that. So this attacking side, I guess I don't know what to expect now that they don't have those smokes that are going to be continuously coming up here. You don't get, sure, Brimstone only gets 3 of them, right? Astra gets 5 of them. Omen gets as many as you can grab in a round, as it looks like we might have a tactical pause here. I don't know what to expect now that it's just the Viper here on attack.
I think the Viper can work really well on the A site if you're using the wall to kind of cut that site, because the A site is already a very chaotic site to try and take. There's a lot of 50-50 angles, and I'm not just talking left and right. There's up and down as well. There's a lot going on over on that A site. You add the wall as well for an extra little bit of something that needs to be danced around, something you can't see through, something you can kind of hide behind, and it starts to give you a little bit of an advantage. That being said, you can also get a little bit of value on the B side. Maybe shut down some ops later on in the defensive round. If Lin picks up that operator, maybe Ari puts up the wall to kind of try and deny that sightline a little bit so that they can get some leverage over onto the B side. So it can be done. But I think when you're picking an agent like Viper, you're expecting to get a little bit more of a runaway lead on the defense so that you're not focusing too heavily on that offense. And now they're really behind on the scoreline in terms of what they managed to accomplish on their defense. So now they have to bring it just that little bit harder on the offense.
Well, I mean, they did just that. It was a hard push, a hard split over towards B. The only one holding it down was Dinos, but not long for this world as a couple of kills come on through. TSM, I mean, they seem to have all the answers. As we see that toxic string gonna get thrown up. That one blocking off Snowman. It only lasts for so long as the toxins are available, and Anarchist only going to find 2 kills before being cut down by Clefairy, which I don't know if that's an ability that Clefairy can learn. Either way, she's not done yet. A nice little 3K on the round, but down to the 1v2. And who better? If you want anybody in the 1v2, you'll want Ellie here. Working against the time, working against 2 members, able to spot out 2, find the grape of 1. Now it's all down to Zoe. And I can't imagine there's a whole lot of utility left this deep into the round. Fake defuse comes through. It's low HP, just needs to find the body, but Zoe working with the clock so incredibly well. He's going to find the round win for TSM, not in kills, but in time alone.
Worth.
Yes, yeah.
There is something really poetic about somebody named Clefairy playing Sage. If you know anything about Pokemon, this is really poetic. Anyway. Healer things. That was really well played from Zoe to run down the time as well as she did. She knew that she probably wouldn't be able to win the 1v1, but she knew that she also had an advantage in that she could play a little bit unpredictably, could peek out a little bit, could use that space to try and draw out some fire to make sure that the defuse didn't come through. And that's exactly what happened. She denied that entirely. So TSM getting themselves another point on the board, looking really good on their attack. And now they're going for a full A push. There's that A wall that I was talking about to shut down sightlines from the other side of the map. They've even got the smokes as well. They've got a lot of cover here. And they're going to go for strong post-plant positions because they do have the gun advantage in this round.
And I think they heard everybody on the flank as the kills just start to come through. It is an anti-eco, so what do you expect? You've got the Spectre versus the Classics. Nice little, not flawless actually. So yeah, Anarchist going down, hurts the economy of 1. Now the inverse, this is kind of what we saw for Frogs, but at this point, their Jet had the knives available, and they were able to drop that fallen teammate. Not going to be the case here for Kath, so not a real bonus here for Anarchist. I think maybe forces up a rifle early in this one, which kind of puts you in a pretty good spot. But this is very important, right? 7-7 rifles now on the board. Frogs got to start to figure it out.
I think the added benefit of that wall is also like the wall is up, the wall goes down. Surprise! And Arianicus gets 3 kills. You weren't expecting me here. And yet again, you know, you got a gun advantage here for Frogs this time because they did lose 2 rounds in a row. So they're going to have the rifles this time around. They're going to need to try and use that to their advantage because they don't have any ultimates here. And the Viper's Pit has already been dropped.
Yeah, taken off the board now, and Ellie not giving up this site for free as that spike does get planted and the Seekers go out. They're not getting a whole lot done just yet because Ellie continues to frag. The rest of the Frogs starting to come up behind. Now it's all up to Zoe. Use the ult early in this one. A paranoia from downtown, and the Frogs on their rifle round battle back and get it done.
Damn, that round was insane. that right there, that is the definition of an explosive round. Like, you blink and it's over. You've missed the whole thing. Frogs played that really well. They get some rifles in their hands despite the wall being up. In fact, the Viper's Pit goes out, and as soon as it goes out, they take down Arianicus, which means that the Viper's Pit is completely offline. Wait, the Viper's Pit never got used. Oh man, I thought I saw it. It must have been one of the toxic or the orbs. Okay, this is good. This means that she still has it available to try and lock down a site. Plus, they've got full rifles as well, so they're going toe to toe here in terms of the gun economy. But they need to be careful because, of course, Frogs still have a res and the showstopper.
And the showstopper's been huge for both of these raises in this game, netting them, you know, a couple of possibly, well, at least for Emily, her only kills. Ellie, you can't really say the same as Emily gets aggressive again, but immediately punished. 2 kills to follow, but a resurrection makes us an even 4v4. Now, I was wondering, how do we see that Viper's Pit? But it is going to be that plant on site. Now going to add some extra chaos to a very chaotic half already towards this A site.
I mean, I mentioned that I was expecting TSM to be aggressive. They have not disappointed.
They have not. I thought that was Arianicus going down there. That would have been absolutely horrible, but thriving inside the chaos is the Viper. Thriving inside the pit as it's down to the Jets in a 1v1 and Lynn on low HP. It would just take one shot from the Classic, but make it the Vandal instead. TSM not us up once more.
That was fantastic play there. And again, the Viper's Pit coming in so clutch to deny the visibility for the entirety of the Frogs team. And Arianicus still manages to get the 2 kills there. And then Kath, of course, it was really unfortunate for Lynn because Lynn was on such low HP and Kath was able to, you and I were talking about this before the broadcast, but the power of those wall bangs and how a lot of less experienced players sometimes don't really think about that. They'll kind of swing out instead of remembering, oh, I can just shoot through. These ladies, they don't have that problem. They know you shoot through the wall, and that's exactly what Kath did. Manages to get that final kill there. And once again, the scores are tied up. This is neck and neck, and I think we're going to be going the distance here.
It definitely seems just like that, and like I said, I think it was kind of to be expected. I think the Frogs playstyle works well against this TSM squad who has been pieced together and still needs some time working together. But as I say it, they just look so darn good. 4 kills across the map, and Ellie's done a lot, but this is asking for so much as she's able to track down one and take the tracker down in that sky. But TSM, they reclaim a lead here 9-8. But like you said, I don't think we're done seeing this Frogs team battle back.
I think you might have the worst case of Caster's Curse I've ever seen.
That's why I don't make predictions. I really try and avoid all of that stuff because I just curse everything.
Yeah, every time you say something, just the complete opposite happens. You know, I might come to you for lottery numbers.
Right.
Anyway, so this is going to be yet another anti-eco for TSM as the Frogs are going to be running through with 2 Buckies. I can't wait to see how this works out because obviously Frogs are on the defense here. They're expecting an A push and it's not an A push, it's a B push. But because it's one of these eco rounds, it doesn't really matter. So as soon as the spike goes down, they're going to go for that kind of retake. But they're not really, again, they're not really expecting to win this one out. You want to get 1 or 2 kills where you can, maybe even draw out an ultimate if you can. But more than anything else, you want to get the round over with so that you can buy guns next round.
And that's the coin flip sometimes that you take. Like you said, in eco, you stack up and you hope they come this way. And now it's going up through 2, unfortunately taken down.
Oh my!
Rest of the squad. Oh, okay. I would say looking to get cut down that Bucky. Getting a lot of damage down onto Anarchist, but only 1 kill to the good thus far. Low HP on the Reyna, and Junifor will fall. TSM, first to double digits here, but now we get to see Frogs back where they're comfortable, back on their rifles, and they have those ultimates online.
Oh, we're getting dangerously close to that map point scenario here for TSM. And as they come into this next round again, they've been on a bit of a streak. So they've got all the weapons that they could possibly want. They've got a ton of ultimates as well. Frogs are able to buy up at the very least. They've got Bladestorm ready. And they've got Empress. So these are two very, very powerful ultimates, but they need to be careful about how they use this. They're kind of buckling under TSM's pressure at the moment. They're giving up a lot of map control way too early on, and they're getting caught out for it. I want to see them try and slow down a bit, hit the brakes, and figure things out before they rush in. There isn't a lot of time left.
And this play, similar to the pistol round, this time going to be completely shut down. They have the lineup for that poison cloud. Dash on through under tube. The two members trying to push are going to be met. Now, Seekers go out for some information, and not necessarily corralled, but it does look like TSM want to just stick it here. And there's a crazy flank from way across the map from Arianarchist, and this could go very well or very bad.
Oh, it looks like she's going to come up against DLOS again as well. If they actually do manage to cross paths. Oh, no, they're going to go the opposite direction. Ships in the night. It's unfortunate.
Oh, no, actually. Second guess makes a double take out towards mid and is able to find that one. Now, Clefairy and Ellie in a 2v2. Very winnable. That showstopper online. Here comes the flank once more. Nobody calls out the Viper. Nari Anarchist is just getting all of the value. Clefairy does what she can, but unfortunately, the backstab from Emily is just too much, and the Frogs are struggling to find their footing.
That flank is also a bit of a coin toss, because very often when you're in those situations where it's 2v1 or 1v2 or whatever, you kind of want to be with the other person on your team so that there's someone to swing on you. So the timing for that had to be perfect. Ariadicus couldn't expose herself too early and not have someone to swing on her. But it works out. She gets a kill, gets taken down, but while that's happening, her teammate manages to get the final blow and they win out the round. That timing, it's so important, and it worked out really well. And again, TSM 1 point away from that match point. They've still got those ultimates, and they already have a pick onto Lynn. Like,
and that feels horrible because Lynn opted into using the Bladestorm in this round. So now the Bladestorm off the board. It's that really labored buy, or the yard sale buy. See that Judge. We see the Showstopper going to get a lot of value this time around as A-Site just opened up by the explosions. There was like the bomb squad opening that one up, leaving it all down to Junifor, who it has the Empress, but I cannot imagine this is the time to use it unless you start to find a couple of kills, and that's exactly what she's done. Cutting down one. Now Emily looking to peek. Lower on HP. Nice little upgrade coming out. There's that Vandal kill from downtown, healing up, and again, has the ult available, but who better? You have to have guessed it. Ari Anarchist on the flank. Another backstab to find another round. And you said it. That was the last round before match point. Now Frogs backs against the wall. Need to win 4 in a row.
You mentioned the backstab and Arianicus in the same sentence, and all I can remember is when she was playing for Dignitas on FTW, there was a moment on Split in Ropes where she pulled out the knife and stabbed somebody in the butt. And it literally, like, for the rest of the broadcast, Golden Boy and I were just going butt stab. All we wanted to see was more butt stabs. So yeah, when you say backstab, the first thing I'm going to think of is Arianicus. And now as we move on to match point, that power and that potency becomes so much more important. We've seen Lynn here with an operator in her hands once more. She's going to try and shut things down, but with all of these flashes, it's going to be so difficult to get that value.
And Dinos able to find one, just can't ult away in time, and I know exactly how that feels, trying to jump in that from the shadows and just click anywhere to get to safety, but it's not fast enough with the fingers. Although a 1v1 across the board, this is still a winnable round for Frogs, and they have 3 very large ultimates to be able to turn this in their favor.
Dinos got denied.
Nice.
We'll see if they can actually get her back into the server, because they're going to want to be at full power if they possibly can. They don't have the Bladestorm, but like you said, still have the Showstopper. Oh, and the res came through for TSM. That is not good news for Frogs, because now they're at that disadvantage in numbers. And the Viper's Pit is up, and the Bladestorm is up for Cap. this is a very, very, very sticky situation for Frogs to be in. They're going to need to have to be very careful about how they approach this next fight.
Yeah, and with these Seekers, you see that the play is just run it down right behind him and see what you can find. They are going to run right into Ellie, though, who's been hot for most of the game. Cuts down 2, but they're answered back immediately. Now in the 2v2, but a resurrection available. We're finally going to see that Viper's Pit popped here, Sam.
And I mean, no better time, right? This is that match point scenario, but finally the res comes through, and this is good because it now gives Frogs the numbers advantage. They are, however, going to need to battle through that Viper's Pit, which is going to make things just that little bit more difficult for them. But 2 still alive on TSM here. There's a lot of firepower there. Making quite a bit of noise towards the back, though, so giving away... Wait, did they just walk straight out of the pit?
They ditched it. They used it just to buy some time, and those snake bites, I believe they last for 14 seconds. So the Viper's Pit, the snake bites on top of it, there's just absolutely zero time for the Frogs to be able to do anything. They are sticking the defuse. They do have the kill, and was it enough from Ari Anarchist? No, they stay alive. A huge round win for the Frogs.
Less than a second. That was so close. Now, I understand what TSM did there. Like you said, they were trying to buy time, and then they pull back. And they wait. They want to watch the spike. They want to be able to see should somebody aggress in onto the spike to try and get that defuse. They want to have a little bit of distance so that they can try and take them down. But I feel it may have been a little bit premature. About a second premature.
Yeah.
If they'd waited literally 1 more second, that would have been it. But that was fantastic play from the Frogs, waiting out with the res as well until the very last second. This has been a fantastic series from them. And now as they come into this next round, they've baited out a ton of ultimates from TSM as well. So it's 1-to-1 ultimates, Bladestorm versus Showstopper. We have perpetual match point here, so every round counts here for Frogs.
And Emily just grabbed so much space there. Blast packing her way on through, right up to top tube, finds that kill. Onto 1, not able to find another. Clefairy able to use that heal as well. Try and top herself off. Ari Anarchist doing what she does best, hanging out on the flank, on the lurk. And Zoe making a lot of steps, but some way, somehow, Junifor does not hear it. Frogs down to their last 3 as that Showstopper gets popped now on the retake, but they're just so far away. It's so hard to get that value as Ellie finds a couple of kills, now making it down to a 2v2. Zoe making her way up from mid. Clefairy able to find the kill, but again, they're working against the clock. They have to go right here, right now. It's the snake bites again, buying the time. It's Ari Anarchist buying the time, and Clefairy just has to stick the spike at this point. There's just no time. Again, TSM played the clock beautifully as they secure the first map here in this 3-game series.
I think that you say that, playing the clock, and I think that was like a really big overarching theme throughout this series. That's what we saw the teams trying to do so often, because you have these 2 really aggressive teams that are kind of smashing into each other over and over again, and like sometimes we'll see that patience where they're like, okay guys, we gotta chill for just a second here. They're gonna be super aggressive, let them come in, we'll take them down. And then like they win the round and they go, yeah, let's go in hard, and then they don't win the round. And so we go round and round. And once they start to focus a little bit more on whittling away that time, particularly with Arianicus using that the Viper's utility, I was really thinking about denying sightlines, and she was playing the time game, and it worked out really well for them. It was closer than what they would have wanted, but it was really well played.
Very, very well. There is nothing more upsetting than when a good Viper plays the snake bites so well, or even to see. We were talking about this before the broadcast when we were kind of going through our players to watch, and Ari Anarchist was kind of just the overall player that we were talking about, just goes so hard from tournament to tournament, team to team, always trying to get her licks in, and with no information that we could see for her playing the Viper, you see how much work she's actually putting in, you know, behind the scenes. That was phenomenal to see, just the mind games with the Viper's Pit playing time, with the snake bites playing time, finding the lineups, having the lineup with the poison cloud. Just absolutely insane. So I'm happy. Thank you, Sam, for bringing that player into the light for me, because I mean, she just showed up in just about every single way. And yeah, and I think top fragged as well. So really doing it all as TSM They're able to bag a one game here, 12 or 13-9, excuse me. A very, very close one on Icebox. Now we're headed over, I believe, to Split. And this is where things get a little dicey because we know Frogs don't have any information on file, but we do have to jump away for a quick break to get that all set up for you guys. But when we come back, Yinsu will be in the driver's seat to talk us through this series.